Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Epic Loot Radio, and a special episode as it is in the season of video game releases. Today, we're going to be doing our Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League review. This is both Kirk and I have been able to go hands-on with it. We both invested $100 to be here today, and we're going to see what that value is ultimately worth our time. We haven't talked too much about this. We just have some general questions that we were talking about in the pre-show. So most of my reactions to his responses, I haven't heard him yet. I don't know truly how he feels, and that is what I think will hopefully make this to be a fun show. If you guys have any questions, just like Dr. Emmett Brown over on X says, how do I feel about streaming on X? I feel great about it. I'm glad you're here, and we can highlight your comments in the show. So we'll try to do our best to help answer any of the questions. Kirk's got some of his gameplay footage rocking and rolling behind, for us. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, but you can always subscribe to the podcast wherever podcasts are found. Just check the top link in the description, and you can pick whatever service suits you best. Kirk, man, dude, I'm excited. I have not played as much as you, but I've played more than I kind of shocked.
Than you ever thought you would.
Than I thought I would. I was like, all right, you talked me into this. Like, I don't know. But then my bias is like, I actually enjoy looter shooters. I actually enjoy these kind of games. And so there is an addictive nature to it. But I'm sure I'm going to say something in this podcast that will not surprise you or anybody, because there are some themes here that it limits my availability. But Kurt, well, let's kick it off. You want to start with the first question? I can ask it to you. We've seen so much highs and lows regarding this game already on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Where are you falling? Like, because it feels like, for me, a very natural fight that happens online. Like, the people who like, the games are going to, I think, overcompensate for that. And then the people who hate on the games are just like, oh, this game sucks. It's trash. It's not a single player narrative, driven experience that I was wanting.
Yeah, and you kind of hit the nail on the head there. The single player experience that people were wanting. The Arkham games made by this same studio, Rocksteady, are so beloved and so well regarded. They pretty much created an entire genre of action adventure video game and a style of combat, and people really, really love those games. And we haven't had one of them in like 10 years. So for this to be the game, for this to be the game that comes out and does follow that up, there's a lot of people that are just inherently disappointed about that. From the premise, like, this game never had a chance with a large audience of people, given the success and the wide regard that the Arkham games have. Mm-hmm. So, they announced that they're going to do this game. People are not happy when they see the first footage. Like, they're like, oof, like, this is what you guys are working on. They delay the game by an entire year. Which, I wonder if maybe it shouldn't have been 2 or really should it have even been 1?
You don't think there's a level of polish?
I do. I guess it depends on what we're talking about, and we'll get into that. There's like the systems and the mechanics and the gameplay loop, and then there's stuff like the facial animations in this game and the character models. Probably some of the best you can find in any game. I think that the technology is gonna catch up. We'll get into that. Okay. But I think the technology is gonna catch up with the games that we're about to see. Like, I mean, we reacted to State of Play yesterday. You had to bounce out, but like when me and Rudigs were watching that Death Stranding 2 trailer, like, the character models for that game are absolutely phenomenal. So I
Dude,
think that
comparison's the thief of joy. Like, like if I'm gonna sit here and compare it to Death
well,
Stranding,
that's what I'm saying. This game compares very favorably visually to anything that's out there right now. I think that in like a year from now, this will kind of be the standard and will be more normal. But like this is bleeding edge pushing visuals of character models in particular. The city looks really good. There's a lot going on with this game that's very good. I did a review of this game for my channel, What's New Video Games, and I ended up giving it a 6 out of 10, which is an okay on that scale.
I'm gonna question. I got a question on 6 out of 10 for you. You say it's an okay, but isn't that like at least a B or a B plus for the games as a service genre? Like what gas game?
Right.
What this is trying to be like Destiny, for example, like comes out 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
For that game, everybody just can't stop playing it. Like it's like, all right, like we're hopelessly addicted. Is it fair to score this game without taking in kind of the, a natural, I think, knock on points for what would be that games as a service, that looter aspect to the game?
So you make a good point. And I think that like the better question is, are any of these games really that good? Like, I mean, like, if they're all getting 7s and lower, it goes back to the premise. Yes, but I mean, like, so like Tom Clancy's The Division is a game that I really, really like. Yeah. It got a 6.7 from IGN. Yeah, I really, really like the first Division game. Yeah. So that's what like I was looking to get out of this game, and I would actually say that I don't like this game as much as The Division, but I'm gonna go through like bullet round with you later after we get done with all the discussion topics and like ask you like the Suicide Squad or The Division, Suicide Squad or Destiny, and see like what we both think, how we both rank them.
Gotcha.
But I think the thing is that just like these games are just not received that well. Like I mean, like Destiny came out and like did the thing because Destiny is made by Bungie, and people are like, the gunplay in this game is phenomenal. People didn't like the story. They thought it was bad. I thought it was bad. And so like that's the thing with these games. It's all about filing you through a very mundane, like monotonous story that's like it's just a slog, and that's the exact way this game is. It doesn't matter that they've got all these, good characters from the DC universe that you're fighting Green Lantern and Batman and Flash. Like, sure, there's good story beats to this game, but at the end of the day, it is literally just an escalator that you've got to stand on and wait to take you to the end to get to your destination, which is the end game of this game, so you can do incursions and special missions and grind for loot. And you're gonna do the Elves worlds, which is content that's coming. You're gonna do the Battle Pass, which is content that's coming. All these quests, all these contracts, daily missions, basically. Like, that's what the gameplay loop of this game is. And that's when you talk about a Rocksteady game, when you talk about a DC property, people are not coming to this game for that. They're coming for an interesting story. They want to like experience something. They want to see compelling characters, and like the characters that people really, really care about. Like I talked about this in my review. There's nothing really personally gratifying about seeing characters that we pretty much all love, like the Flash, Green Lantern, Batman, Superman, a lot of which we wish would get just one of their own video game, like one singular Flash game or one singular Superman game. Everybody wants a Superman game.
Right.
Seeing those characters just be total assholes, like, and murdering people, and like there's nothing gratifying about that. And so like it doesn't set up like killing them in the way that like a good villain in a game, like, I don't know, Uncharted or like something like that is truly evil and is well voice acted. Voss from Far Cry 3 is a great example.
Right.
That you're like, I want to go take this dude down. Like, let's do it. Let's go. Like, you're motivated.
But you love Superman, and there's a conflict to that because, it's like, yes, you're playing the bad guys, but I totally get your point.
I like Superman and Batman better than these yahoos.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
And that's the problem. Is like, sure, Harley Quinn, Tara Strong, killing it, right? Like Tara Strong is Harley Quinn. That voice is iconic. She's a fantastic voice actress. Like that, it's so great that they got her sort of to be the leading man, if you will, leading role in this. Yeah, in this game, and so she takes point in a big way, and it works really well.
Yeah.
But like these other three dudes, like I mean, like Deadshot literally got replaced by Bloodsport, played by Idris Elba in the movie, because it was like that cookie cutter of like, well, I should take the other guy with guns,
other guy
and a daughter,
who's good at aiming,
like and Boomerang. Don't even get me started on Boomerang. Like every time he always said, guys, like, we need to shoot the dudes and do the thing, and like, wow, like every time he opens his mouth, and I'm just like, shut up.
Did we just get Skill Up on the podcast?
Oh no! Don't put that on me. Do not put that on me.
I was like, wow, no. I really appreciate you. Really went for the accent with that. That was wonderful.
Skill Up has a buttery smooth voice. I will not hear this heresy.
I agree.
But yeah, no, we can make fun of the Aussies a little bit. No, but it's like it is probably the most grating Australian accent that I've ever heard. I
thought he nailed the character. Like from every iteration that I've seen of
so
Boomerang.
That's the thing. No, you're absolutely right. Like they're nailing the characters here. They are being so accurate and so authentic to the source material. And the problem with that is like, so Amanda Waller like is a despicable human being, right? And like I forget the actress who plays her, but she nails it. She's awesome as Amanda Waller.
Yes. 100%.
But that doesn't make like her a good handler / quest giver for like 15 hours or more of a video game. You know what I'm saying? Like Amanda Waller as a character, they're doing her very, very well. Yeah. For her to be my quest giver and be like just a total you-know-what to me the entire time.
The whole time. Right.
Like that doesn't necessarily make for fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, so a lot of the problem with this game is like they took these characters that are not inherently fun on the surface to play with or to hear talk constantly, and you will hear the characters talking constantly. Like they never shut up. Like they are constantly trying to get a joke in or the last word or whatever. Sometimes it's funny. Emphasis on sometimes. Like it is funny sometimes, but it's just like da 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 like all the time. And the problem is like these characters are not inherently enjoyable for the video game that we are playing. Like there's a reason that they've had the roles that they've had in DC Comics. Like there's a reason that you're not rooting for I mean, like Harley is the exception, right? Which is why she works as sort of the main focal point of this story for the other three to kind of rally around. King Shark, very lovable.
Was great.
Yeah.
So funny. Like
yeah,
he was the guy that I was like, just let every time he gets a little hat right at the beginning, like he's so well delivered, and then like the way that he processes the situation they're in, like I felt like he was, for me, the most relatable. The thing I was going to say, like to kind of your points, this feels like I'm playing through James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Like obviously not that same story.
Like Guardians. Like
in a way.
Yeah.
But his Suicide Squad also, like, you know, because it was rooted in this. And I was like, I think they've done a really good job at making this feel like I'm playing the Suicide Squad. Here's my problem with all of that. Both as a parent who I can't play this game around the kids because of it. Now the violence isn't that bad.
Boomerang's like peeing on people.
Right. Like, okay, this is a game that is like, okay, this is definitely for, you know, adults. Okay, cool. Yeah. I get it. There's nothing wrong with that, but that automatically makes it a challenging game for me to sit down and say, yeah, I want to grind on this over Pal World, for example. And then on top of that, you got obviously like the language and, you know, just the nature, the content in and of itself. And then the reality that like I was going to share with you is I generally don't play like dark characters or villainous characters, right? And whenever it comes down to it, like I usually end up being kind of like the Jedi. Like I'm always trying to pick like, you know, the things that I would probably pick in this real world. Here I am as the villains, and I can appreciate it for everything that's packaged as villains, but there's nothing like I really want to go kill the Justice League. No,
Right?
I want to save the Justice League.
That's what I said on Twitter.
Yeah.
I said that on Twitter. I said, can you imagine if this game just changed one little word? If this game was called Suicide Squad Save the Justice League,
yeah,
and then you have to like go like, you know, they're Brainiac has them trapped behind some sort of, you know, force field generated,
well, they could still be
whatever.
brainwashed, but it's a matter of like you beat him and we found a cure or something, you know.
Maybe, but I think it would be really cool to have like interactions with the characters, like, oh my god, like these buffoons are coming to save me, you know, like as Batman
that's true.
or Superman or whatever. And yeah, even Destin Legary, who obviously got a ton of attention over this game for daring to say that he didn't have fun at that IGN preview. He really milked that on Twitter. Kudos to him for that. He had a lot of fun
playing the game, playing the content creation game well.
Yeah. Destin knows how to do it. But yeah, he even commented on that, and he was like, I think I would have loved this angle, actually. Like, the payoff that you would have had from not just... I mean, I don't think this is a spoiler. Like basically every one of these Justice League characters, you end up having a boss fight with them, which I would say about 80% of them are very unsatisfying and like not very good mechanics, and like 20% of them, primarily Green Lantern, were awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Green Lantern is kind of like a Destiny strike or like a raid battle or something. It's really cool. So you know, if you already bought the game, at least play to that because it's fun. But
I'm having fun.
And then
there's a lot of fun.
They just shoot him in the face. Like, that's it. Like, they just shoot him in the face and then just go on like it never happened. Like, quipping and joking with each other. Like, what? Like, it's written with like as if the people that made this game like just like didn't really care. I guess like they were just like, all right, you just need to get to the next thing now. Like let's just move you along, like, you know, and then so like that gives the feeling of like me being like, why am I doing this then? Like, if you don't care, why don't I care? Like, the news came out for the people in New Zealand that had the game like a day before us, that they like logged into the game and the campaign auto completed and it just gave them a character at like level 30 and like with in-game loot and stuff. And then Rocksteady had to like take the game offline because of that bug. And I'm like, God, dude, I wish I'd had that bug so I could have just gone straight into the end game. Because the end game is where this game is gonna live or die, and where it's probably gonna thrive with people. Because, and we can get into it. I mean, you've got like I would say it's most similar to like Borderlands, probably like Borderlands 3. You've got like these like talent trees where you can like, it's the same as Borderlands where you go like down the line and like pick what trait you want, and you get like synergy with those, and you create like builds. Like, you can have a build that's like grenade focused where you have like bigger, more explosive, like bigger radius grenades, and you can recharge them quicker and stuff like that. You can have builds that are focused on like bouncing back and forth between melee and shooting, and you can have builds that use you know, mostly a specific type of gun. Like with Deadshot, you know, a sniper build would probably be pretty cool, because if people don't know, with Deadshot you have a jetpack, and the cool thing about that is like if you have a sniper rifle and you aim down the scope, he's just gonna hover in place in the air, and you can shoot. Like, that feels really cool. That like the feeling of this game playing it is really awesome, and then the ability to customize your builds. I mean, this game is going to be very cool where you grind for like crazy loot, and then you spec your build exactly how you want to, and you're just doing insane damage on like groups of enemies at like the highest level and stuff. Like, that's where this game's going to be fun. The thing is like you can have that in Borderlands, or you can have that in The Division. You don't necessarily have to have Harley Quinn and Captain Boomerang and King Shark to do that, you know? Like, you could have just Yahoo McGee, soldier meathead guy that has an LMG or whatever, and it works just as well. So
and that's where this game has an identity crisis.
Yes.
Because it's like, are we trying to be a narrative, story-driven, you know, experience, or are we trying to be that Borderlands? And I think they're like, why not both? And I think
this is why.
And I think that is where a lot of people struggle, because for like, you brought it up right at the start of the show. So it's that people, the last of this series was the Batman Arkham series. It's beloved. People really, really enjoyed that. And this is, and no matter what, because it's the same studio, feels like that a natural follow-up. So all of a sudden, if you're going in expecting the Batman Arkham series, this is not that. This
You're
is
in
a
for a
completely
bad
different
time
game.
if you want
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So this feels like it's a game that, like, why is it a games as a service? I don't yet understand. And your point about Endgame is the valid question. Like, does this have staying power to keep people coming back week over week over week?
Well, see, you're
And
not there yet.
right,
You're
I'm
not
not.
there yet. You're still what, like 4 or 5 hours in? Like, have you done the Flash fight?
I have not. I have not made it to
You're
Flash.
probably right before the Flash fight. You probably did the cannon fight, which is like, ugh, it's not very good. But I'm actually gonna flip what you said on its head.
Okay, go ahead.
My question is not why is this a games as a service? My question is why is it trying to be an Arkham game? Because it's so obviously not. And if that's what they spent a year doing, if it wasn't to make it more polished and fluid in terms of the gameplay and the models and things like that, if they spent a year, because I don't know if you know this, but like they took out gear score. They took out gear score, so the weapons are just like, they have the rating, like legendary, infamous, notorious, and then they have the perks, and then like that, like that's just that gun. Like if you land that gun, like you just have that gun, and there's no like gear score to grind to like get a better version of that gun to drop. Honestly, like I mean, like normally I would say great. Like Ghost Recon Breakpoint did that, and it was like, oh my god, thank you, because I did not want this to be that type of game. I want to play it like a Metal Gear Solid or something like that. Like it's a stealth kind of going around the woods with my sniper rifle, like picking people off. I don't want that to be a gear score fest because it's not really a games as a service. They were trying to inject games as a service into a Ghost Recon game. This is almost the opposite, where they've got like a competent-ish, like I said, I gave it a 6. It might have been a 7 because they've got a competent-ish looter shooter game that has fun gameplay and good systems as far as like your build customization, the loot, like the guns you can get are like really, really cool. Like we got the Black Mask weapons with the deluxe edition that like, it's like if you pop like 3 different guys in quick succession, they all like combust and start burning, they're on fire. Like stuff like that is super cool. And you can like do that with, you get 2 weapon slots, you get all this different perks in this talent tree. Like there's so much you can do as far as speccing your build. There's a cool mechanic that we haven't talked about where, like, if you're in a party of people, it's called co-opetition, the dev studio calls it, where, like, everybody gets a score for that mission, and whoever wins the mission gets, like, a victory screen, like in Call of Duty or something, and then they get to be the party leader now and choose what your next mission is. Like, there's a lot of good things going on, and then they tried to stick an Arkham game in that. And I think that's where it feels awkward. Like, if you're gonna do a games as a service, you gotta do it. Like, give me like a 5 to 6 hour campaign. Make it like, here's what you need to know. Here's how our systems work. Here's a boss fight to make you happy. Like, this game could have basically ended it like with the like Green Lantern fight or whatever. Like, I mean, I don't really know. I can't visualize how they could have made this game work and sort of taken more of the sort of Arkham Force story out of this game to make it better, because it kind of is just like a mess. So like as a premise, I think that this game is one of the most inexplicably conceived games probably ever. Like, you take something like our Game of the Year winner last year for our podcast, Hogwarts Legacy. It's one of the best conceived games ever. We're just going to make a Hogwarts game that's not tied to any of the movies. You're going to be a student at Hogwarts. Oh, you thought we were just going to do the castle? Actually, the castle is going to be like this big on the map, and you're going to have this giant area of the Scottish Highlands to go around, do quests, like find trolls in caves, like all that stuff, go to class, like your sort of Hogwarts journey. That's a very well-conceived idea for a game. This game is like, all right, we're going to take this game franchise that everybody loves, and we're just going to change it completely. It's not even going to be in the same genre. We're going to make it like a Borderlands, Destiny type game. And who are we going to be playing as? We're going to be the Justice League for that? You're going to be able to play as Superman, Batman, Flash, and Green Lantern? Oh, no! You're going to kill them! And you're gonna play as the like ragtag group of villains that they had to make 2 movies about to get it right the second time.
That's true.
I mean, like, oh my god, Harley's not even gonna have her same outfit. That, you know, people know and love. We're gonna have a gaff about that. That didn't really offend me that much, but it's kind of all just going towards the same thing of like, why did they do this? And I mean, we know the answer, right, Brian? Like, it's because, 5 years ago when Fortnite
Games
was
as a
popping
service.
off and
Yeah. Everything's got to be
Destiny
that.
was the hotness. It was like, oh, that's where the money is, and
And
they're
there was.
too
They were right.
they're too late. Like they missed the boom, they missed the window, and nobody wanted this, and they know that, and they tried.
Especially there's a games as a fatigue. Like games as a service, there is a level of fatigue that people have been experiencing. And Chili brings up a good point, talking about like wanting to play like Grand Blue, et cetera. And like that's for me where like when I look at what's holding me back from this game is like, well, this is interesting, right? But this isn't a game that's just like there's nothing. It's not like there's nothing else out to enjoy.
It doesn't demand your time. Like it doesn't eat at you. Like
I have to play this to experience the story.
I don't want to say
the
like
already
Elden
leaked
Ring
online,
because that's not even fair. But like maybe Monster Hunter World. Like when I was playing Monster Hunter World when it came out, I was like, I don't know if this is like super good. And then I figured out that it was super good because I was still in college at that time when I was in class and I was like, I want to play Monster Hunter World. And so that's when you know that a video game is good because it has you. And like this game, like when I'm not playing it, I'm not like, oh man, I really want to get back to Suicide Squad. It's more like I'm thinking in my head, like, gosh, why can't I find the fun in Suicide Squad? Like, where I know it's there. Like, I can tell that it's there.
I've had fun, like especially with the combat, and like the characters, and that's actually like a good, kind of question I'd like you to get to is like, what characters were your highlights and what were like the lowlights? You already kind of were knocking on Boomerang for his accent and delivery, but like,
see, I really like Boomerang's gameplay too.
Yeah.
So, Boomerang has like one of the coolest. This is the screen where like if you're multiplayer, then you would see like everybody and like your ranks and scores at the end. Like so, Harley would have done the best. By the way, for sorry auto listeners, I'm reacting to the gameplay that we have. But as far as Boomerang and the other characters, Boomerang's traversal mechanic is really really cool. That is one area where the game really shines, is like the traversal of all of these characters is very distinct between them. The gunplay can feel very similar. The melee even can feel similar. They're a little bit different, but the traversal specifically is sort of what defines each character. I will say as a knock, other than Deadshot, I guess, like, I don't find the traversal in concept incredibly intriguing. Like, Harley's traversal isn't even her own. She just literally steals some of Batman's equipment from the Hall of Justice. So, like, I'm looking forward to the Joker when he comes out because he's going to have, like, an umbrella. That seems, like, pretty, iconic as far as he got. Like, that, I believe that. Like, that's Joker. Joker would fly around with an umbrella, spring-loaded umbrella. Like, that seems cool. Deadshot, obviously the jetpack. That's cool. Boomerang like steals a speed gauntlet that basically like makes him the Flash. Thankfully, we got the Justice League outfit, so I just made him the Flash. So like when I'm playing as him, I'm just LARPing as like Flash, JV Team Flash. I'm like B Team Flash. I'm not as good. I'm like Flash in training, and he can kind of like warp around the map and stuff. It's pretty crazy. Like it's probably one of the best teleport mechanics that I've encountered in a game because most of the time, when you get a teleport mechanic, you kind of get that like you're visualizing like ahead of you, like where you're gonna jump to, like it gives you like a little blip, and then you jump there. This is like he literally throws the boomerang out, and it has like a trail behind it, and it goes and goes and goes and goes. And when you let go of it, there's like a pause, and then you just immediately like lurch forward right to that position. It kind of reminds me of another WB game, Shadow of Mordor, where you could like target an enemy and he would zip over to the enemy and like decapitate them or whatever, and you could like chain it into combos. This isn't quite that fluid because you have full control the entire time, but it is very cool how you send the boomerang out and you go right to it. So one of my favorite things to do is just send it right into a group of enemies, and then I'm on top of them and I'm just messing them up with boomerang. I wish that the melee for these characters, like the animations are so cool, and yet it's so obvious that this is a shooter and you're not supposed to melee because it does no
even
damage
melee was
compared to the
shooting.
gun.
Like I was playing, Deadshot.
With Deadshot,
his melee is I'm shooting you with more guns. Like okay, cool.
But the melee mechanic is really just to get stuns and to recharge your shield. Like, that's basically it. It's not a viable way of combat. And like,
Right.
you know, I'm thinking like Arkham, I'm like trying to keep meleeing and it's like not doing anything. And I'm like, oh, I gotta switch it. I go to my gun, I just delete everybody. It's like, it's definitely a shooter. And then yeah, as far as traversal goes, like Deadshot, you played the majority of time with Deadshot. So how did you feel about the jetpack? Because
Oh, it's
I
great.
really like it, and I like that you can hover, but it's like, I don't know. It's the same thing with Harley too. Like see like for our visual viewers, like you can see with Harley, there's like a bar that fills up, and like once
Mhm.
it's filled up, you can't use your traversal ability anymore. It's the same with Deadshot, like his
Yeah.
jetpack,
You
like
got
it
to touch
fills up or
ground
whatever.
or touch either a wall or ground. I honestly don't have any complaints about the traversal. I've played with all the 4 characters and all the different traversal methods. I think you're right. Boomerang is the coolest one because it's got that Speed Force aspect and you're just like zipping along. But the jetpack I found to be actually quite enjoyable, especially when you start comboing all of your traversal methods together because you can cool off your jetpacks, you can do a double jump, you can just touch ground, and then you're right back into it. And so that for me is something where I've been trying to challenge myself to get as much airtime as possible. But then when doing that, when traversing through the city, I'm skipping over enemies. And so the gamer in me is like, should I go and, kill those enemies? Because maybe there's loot. And
No,
and
because
so
they're all the
right,
same. There's no enemy
they're just
variety
roving.
whatsoever. They're all like the same 3 aliens. And that's the thing. Like, you're still having a lot of fun, just like I was at hour 3, 4, 5. Because like you everything's novel for you still, and the gameplay is really, really good. Like, you're on PC, I think, so you're not playing with a PlayStation 5 controller, right?
No, I'm playing with the Xbox
Okay.
controller, and also I'm playing on my Logitech G Cloud. So I've been playing this game also in handheld mode, just trying to get more experience with it. And it like the controls work great, and the handheld version of this game works great. Like there's if you have that ability, it's not on GeForce Now, but it is with Steam Link. So I was able to just Steam Link into my PC, and overall, like I was like, yeah, this is great. Like controls feel very intuitive. It was at first like during the tutorials, I was like, oh, this is gonna be awkward, but then all said and done, I was like, yeah, this works. Like I'm having a good time. There we go.
Performance on the Steam Deck is good. You're not losing frames or anything.
Well, no, but remember I'm streaming it from the PC, so yeah,
Okay.
I don't have it. And my home network is really rock solid. It's a mesh network, so it works really well for me to playing it. Now, Benzo in chat brings up this point. I want to highlight it for you because I think it kind of like highlights what we've been talking about. He says, finish the game, and the honest opinion is that it had potential, but the game currently is just underwhelming. I feel this would work better without the Justice League, ironically, or if they had them fighting Brainiac and the Justice League were fighting with you in the background, it would have made a decent story. And I feel that because
Yeah.
like I'm not upset that because I saw some frustration online about the ending of this game, right? Like, oh,
Yeah,
they
let's not talk about
disrespected.
that
I'm
for
not, I'm just
yeah.
saying that, but I was like, the actor, he signed up for that. Like, it's like he was on board for this project. Like, I think that in and of itself was an interesting take, but I do agree with what Benzo's saying. Like, all in all, like I don't feel like this need to go and kill the Justice League
Nobody
because
asked to kill the Justice League. Like, that's
right.
it. That's the simple way of putting it. Like, nobody asked for this. Nobody was hyped about that. Like, oh, let's go kill the Justice League. Like, it's like this phenomenon where we're seeing basically like a corporation. It's like almost like a case. It would make for a good case study
Yeah.
where a corporation, like, rather than, a company that makes phones, for instance, and people are like, oh, I really wish I could watch Netflix on my phone. And they're like, hey, we made a phone that you can watch Netflix on, like supply and
Right.
demand. This is like a situation of like, oh, I really wish I could have another Batman game. And they're like, yeah, but don't you really wish that you could kill Batman? and people are
Yeah.
like, no, I don't think so. And they're like, no, like you do. Like, it'll be so awesome. Like, check out this trailer. Like, it'll be so cool. And people are like, no, that looks like it sucks. And so it's like this weird phenomenon where they're trying to create demand from the supply.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, we want to supply you a product that we will think will make us money. There's no demand for it, but we really want you to want it, and we really want you to play it. So we're going to try to convince you that you want it. And everybody's like, no, I never wanted this. I just wanted you to go make the thing that you were already making, that we already liked, And you're trying to tell me that this thing is somehow better or is like a good thing for me to spend time with. And the majority of people are like, no, I don't really want that. And so it's so strange that they came at it from that perspective of like, we're going to make something so good that like people will not be able to help themselves but love it, you know? And it's like, instead, it's like you and me sitting here and being like, God, I really want to love it. But, you know, like,
let's just play a what if game. Like, imagine if this was a Batman game where Batman has to go and save Superman, and like Superman gets turned, all these different, and so then you are as Batman working your way through Metropolis ultimately to go and fight Brainiac. But in order to defeat Brainiac, you have to save the Justice League. Like that in and of itself, it's like that sounds something that I could really be excited about to play. But yeah, I keep coming back to that. I keep coming back. And I the answer to why it's a games as a service is I think, you hit it right out of the park. Destiny 2, what was big when they started development around this time was games as a service. What happens to not be that big right now? Games as a service. And it was, and I think the downfall, like there's like a fatigue that people are just like, I've been doing the same thing in the same game for 10 years. I want something new. But also on that vein, last year we saw a bunch of really great single player games. You brought up Hogwarts Legacy, but like even still going back further, you got Elden Ring, and then last year also Final Fantasy 16, Starfield, Baldur's Gate, Mario, Spider-Man. Like it's like all of a sudden it's like as a gamer, like every month there is a big release, or at least every month and a half, and I think a lot of people were like,
a lot,
oh, wow.
right?
Yeah,
because like. People were really excited for Destiny 2 and the Division 2. Like those popped off years ago when they were about to come out. And now we're in a place where like people are way more excited for Dragon's Dogma 2 right now than this game. And that's such a shift in the landscape of the consumer. Whereas like 5 years ago, people were like, yes, give me Monster Hunter World as an online game. Give me, Ubisoft stuff and shooters as online games. Like people wanted that stuff. Like, and then they'd be like, oh, it's not online multiplayer. Dang, I really wanted an online multiplayer game, And now people are like, oh my God, it's got online multiplayer, and I've got to like play with people and like do dailies and stuff.
The risk we see with that is not just the dailies, because I think I don't like dailies because they're just artificially incentivized FOMO, which essentially just like I end up moving away from games that make me feel like if I have to log in order to progress, otherwise I'm losing out. And it's like the games that don't do that now, I'm more inclined. Like Halo's, their battle pass system. Like I think, we're seeing more and more like you buy the battle pass, and that's what they announced here, that you buy the battle pass, you keep the battle pass, but
we still don't have a battle pass for some reason. That doesn't come till March, because that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and it's like, all right, like anyway, that's just crazy. But then you have so naturally you have that fatigue, and then ultimately it sets in where it's like you see the games that lose and they shut down, and then you can't play them, and so there's this sense of gaming preservation that doesn't exist, and there's always a risk. So I think that also is
what if they don't do the Avengers thing where Crystal Dynamics, to their credit, they gave I hated this, by the way, because I spent money, so I'm worried about spending money on skins in this game, because I probably spent like $300 on that Avengers game, because I didn't know if it was gonna, the shop wasn't gonna be live anymore. So I wanted the Iron Man suits, I wanted the Spider-Man suits, like I wanted to have those and collect those. They ended up giving all those away for free, which, like, to their credit, I'm very glad that they did that. Like, that was a good thing for them to do. And they made the game entirely playable offline to play single player, like with your own Avenger squad. What if they don't do that for this game? Like, this game is not going to live beyond, 5, 6, 7 years, if that.
You think it's going to live beyond a year?
Oh,
like in terms of content? I mean, the game will be on, but like in terms of their content, like if it does,
they might pull an Anthem. They might shut it down.
Well,
I really don't know.
Meaning that it's like they can keep the game up, but it's like when it comes down to it, it's like, do we keep, because game development takes so long? So they said they already got a year's worth of planning. Does that mean that, like, based off of the reception, that like that work's already being done and is getting into its different stages? Do they then go and say, yeah, we're going to do a year 2 or we're going to do a year 3? They could always, and I think this is the model that we're shifting to with games as a service, where we see an expansion model, and then the battle pass is just something to keep people who want to keep playing. But then imagine if they're like, hey, now it's a year, and Justice League, say like we're gonna do another chapter of this story, and we're gonna tell this bigger story out over the course of that. I could see them doing something like that, but it their messaging of they've got a year's worth of content feels non-committal to a bigger project, and they're just going to wait to see how the sales come in and if it's profitable. I said in like kind of put out a short. I was like, this game feels like it was built for like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, as opposed to like a full $100 box price.
Maybe, but so I want to pivot back to something that you said. You were talking about how what if you played as Batman in this game and you were saving the Justice League or what have you. I have a completely different take on this entire game. And it's that I don't think that would have worked. I think you put Batman gameplay in any type of games as a service game and people would vomit. Like it might have been even an even worse reaction than what we're seeing now. I don't know. I think it would at least be comparable. I think the problem with this game is that they missed it. Like they didn't get it, which is that they tried to go big and then they delayed it for a year to try to go big. And they wanted this to be like this big sort of event, and you're the Suicide Squad and we're going to get you to care about that. Kind of what I was talking about earlier, trying to force that interest and that intrigue with people that don't inherently have it. And so they tried to go big. They tried to make this a spectacle. They tried to make this as AAA as they possibly could. And it does look and feel AAA pretty much all of the time.
Especially on PC. Visually, this game is gorgeous. Like the animations and like I have no complaints.
Just looking at what's going on right now, like on the screen, like it's crazy.
So much going on. It's incredible.
Sometimes it's too much, I will say. Like playing it, I'm like, what am I doing? What's happening? Who am I shooting? Like, like there's just so much stuff going on the screen. And but like that's a small problem to have, I guess. But the thing is just like I think that this game should have been. I'm trying to think of like a good comparison. Like maybe like the Ghost of Tsushima Legends mode that they added into that game
as a mode to something else be perfect.
No, well, not a mode. Like I guess like so that's the best example I can think of as a multiplayer thing. Like that game mode had a raid. Like that game mode was like pretty fleshed out for a game mode. But yes, it was a part of Ghost of Tsushima. I think I would have been totally fine if this was like a $50 like Miles Morales Spider-Man type of scope of game that was like, yeah, this is like a thing that we did, and it's just, it's just like your looter shooter, and you're gonna be doing like the same, 6 to 7 type of missions over and over, whatever. There's a 4 to 5 hour story. It's very bare bones. They get out of prison, they cause some trouble, and they end up, let's say it's not killed the Justice League, and Brainiac has just enslaved Superman, and Batman and Wonder Woman are trying to help you, and then you got to take down Superman. You do that in 5 hours,
but
and
also,
you're done.
You have friction because you have the heroes and the villains having to kind of work together for like the greater good, and like the sort of like, oh, you as the villains, I 100%. That would be something that would make me want to continue to enjoy this story, because I don't have the motivation to, right? Like when you sit down and say like, what's holding me back? I was like Grand Blue Fantasy, Pal World, Enshrouded. Like,
or honestly, like even if those games weren't
7,
out, if those games weren't out, like I just don't know if this game in isolation, like even when compared to like, oh, I could be playing something else that just came out or that's popular right now or whatever. I think it just in isolation, I'm not like, oh, I really got to get back to this. And I think that in large part, again, is like, if they just pulled it back and they'd made the story very bare bones, and they'd made like the overall like cutscenes and presentation very bare bones, still keeping some of that polish, right? But let's cut the story in half or make it a third of the amount of time that it takes to do the story. Now you're straight in the end game. Now you have all the afflictions available and all the gun types from Lex Luthor and Penguin and Poison Ivy, and you're doing the incursions and you're going to the other worlds. You're doing all the in-game content like pretty much immediately, right? Like with a very brief introduction. And this game wasn't such this pompous affair that like took years and years and years to make. Like if they just took 2 to 3 years to make this, put it out, charged $50, said, yeah, this isn't like a full-fledged AAA thing. This is like us doing a Borderlands with these characters because we figured why the heck not try to make some money. And yeah, go play it. We're going to go work on our next Batman now. I don't think anybody would be that mad. Like,
well,
it's
honestly,
the fact
if
that
they
they
paired
tried
it with that kind of announcement. Like if they're like, hey guys, this is something we want to do. It's different, but like, it's the same thing they did
like
when
small.
they announced. Yeah. Well, that's the same thing they did when they announced Elder Scrolls 6, even though they announced that way too early. They announced the Elder Scrolls mobile game, but don't worry, we're not going full, mobile as everything. Like, so this would be something that could be like, yeah, we've got this game. It's different, but we're also still working on the thing that you love as well. So you're not sitting here going like, I got shortchanged. Because like, for example, like the thing that I keep coming back to in my mind was I was playing Star Citizen last night. Star Citizen, MMO, persistent world. I had so much fun. And the only reason I stopped playing is because I needed to go to bed. I stopped playing this game like pretty much after every mission. I'm like, all right, I cleared the mission. Like, all right. Okay, I need to keep playing because we're going to talk about it. I want to have a real good thing. So it isn't, part of it. Like I enjoy these kind of games, multiplayer games as a service games, but I'm also not necessarily someone who's a fan of like the hero shooter. I would rather have my character, right? Like if I made a character that was in Arkham and then got recruited to the Suicide Squad, like that in and of itself is also, I think, would be way more appealing because it's like, yeah, the characters play good. They are true. I think they are true to what they're
very authentic. Yeah, they're very
and I appreciate that, but that isn't the kind of game that keeps me coming back time and time again, especially from a villainous perspective. I lean the more heroic route, when I'm playing games.
I do think I differ from you there. I think like probably the biggest draw is that these characters are unique and they're like somewhat iconic. At least
they
like
are
Harley
iconic.
Quinn.
I agree.
And so like I think that it's the same thing with Avengers. Like I liked Avengers because I got to play as Iron Man and I got to play as like the fact that I can still put a disc in my PlayStation 5 and play a video game as Black Panther. Like that makes Avengers a value proposition to this day. Like you can't do that. Like that's the only place that you can do that. And so like this game, like being able to play as these characters, sort of fringe, not as popular characters, but they're still part of that world and that DC lore.
Yeah.
And I can be Boomerang and wear a flash suit and zip around the map. And Metropolis looks amazing. I think that is the allure of this game. When Joker comes out, I'm probably gonna buy some skins for Joker because I'm not gonna be able to help myself because it's Joker, and I am very excited about that. I think that maybe can give this game a shot in the arm. I'm not super optimistic, but like it's freaking Joker. Joker has selling power, and also like another thing about this game, like with the characters, like other than Deadshot, like and I guess Harley, especially with Boomerang and King Shark, like I said, it is awkward to just pull out a minigun and start shooting people. Like with Boomerang, I want to be throwing my boomerang and like doing boomerang stuff or doing like flash adjacent stuff instead of got like this
attack,
well, right. And that feels like what that character would be doing rather than just pulling out like a shotgun or what. Like it's trying so hard to be a shooter, whereas with Joker, like having an umbrella to pop around with and like pulling out a gun to shoot people in the face, that feels like Joker to me. So like I'm interested in sort of being able to fully role play in that situation. Like it does kind of feel forced at times with some of these characters outside of Deadshot of like, are they really going to be using an SMG like this? Like in a Division type of way, does that feel authentic? And I think it's just like, well, that's just what we needed to do for our looter shooter game. No, I think that they got it wrong with like the studios that were making the last two games from this world, where like Rocksteady should have made Gotham Knights, and they should have made it exactly like the Arkham games. Fine, if you want to do 4-player co-op, and this is how you're doing it, you're saying the Batman is gone. Fine, and then you know what? If a year in they like shadow dropped, like Batman is now the 5th playable character, people would have freaked out. Like they would have loved that. And if Rocksteady had put all of this polish that's in this game into Gotham Knights and they'd made that like one of their Arkham games, people would have liked it. If the only like multiplayer shoehorn thing had been, the 4-player co-op with the 4 Bat Family characters, people would have liked that game. Maybe not as much as the other Arkham games, but they would have liked it. And that's where all this polish needed to go in a bespoke story experience like that. And then not Ubisoft, Warner Brothers Montreal, or what? Montreal got me thinking about Ubisoft. Whatever that studio is that made Arkham Origins and Arkham Knights. I think it's Warner Brothers Montreal. I'm not sure. They should have made this game. They should have made this game, and it should have just been like, we're just doing a bare bones multiplayer shooter. Nobody cares that much about these characters. We'll put in a little bit of personality, but mainly we're going to make a good shooter with good mechanics, deliver on those talent trees that we've got, deliver on that gun variety that we've got, the amazing combat, the fact that when I'm playing with the DualSense 5, I'm feeling it, man. Like I'm bopping people and it's going bzz, bzz, and then like I'm shooting people, I feel it in the trigger, like the haptic trigger, like it feels really good. It's just like, I do 5 missions of that, of Rick Flag being like, all right, you losers, I need you to do whatever. And I'm just like, I can't.
We hate you. And then
I
it's
can't,
like, oh, okay.
The entire time, we hate you and you're useless. Do this, Task Force X. And I'm just like, this isn't fun. Like, it's fun when I'm like shooting people and stuff, but it's like, the loop of it is not like, I gotta do more. It's
so
like,
true
it's
to
grating.
its form that it hurts it. Like, it's so in universe from my experience of everything with the Suicide Squad.
The polish doesn't help. It doesn't make this a better online looter shooter.
As you're playing, it's like, oh, I'm gonna play for 5 minutes and then cutscene, play for 4 minutes, and then like, and it's
the
like
cutscenes are so long. They're so long and there's so much exposition dump. Like, it's like, I thought that if we went over there and did that thing, then we're oh, so stupid.
I don't know what happened with your audio, but like your high pitched voice, your mic said no.
It's cutting it out.
Cut it out, and then but yeah, we should get you speaking as Captain Boomerang more often.
Absolutely not.
This is one time only. You go from Bilbo Baggins to Captain Boomerang. It's like Kirk's taking on all these personas.
One time only.
But no, who do you think this game is for? Like, I think that's
God.
Who's this game for?
If you really wanted to play Borderlands, but you hate first person.
Wow. Put that on the box.
I mean, yeah, if you're one of those pony guys, it's like, Indiana Jones in first person. Uncharted so much better. If you're one of those people, and you couldn't play Borderlands 3 because of your first person allergy. Or like if you liked Outriders, like this game is like comparable enough to Outriders. To that end, I want to go through a lightning round with you of like, okay. So and if you haven't played the game, just based on like your knowledge of that game, what you would pick. So Suicide Squad or Outriders?
Outriders.
Okay, I would pick Suicide Squad.
Okay.
Suicide Squad or Destiny, like Destiny 1 and 2.
Well, Destiny, and that's just, I'm biased. I like Destiny.
So I'm biased too because I played Destiny for like between 1 and 2. I played them for 1,000 hours, and I stopped playing at Shadowkeep, which was like 2 years ago, and I have not wanted to touch that game since. So I'm gonna say Suicide Squad again.
Okay.
In the year 2024, I'd rather play Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad or The Division?
The Division.
Okay. I like Division 1 way better than Division 2, so right now I'm gonna say Suicide Squad. And so like you're getting a theme of like, I like this as a looter shooter. I don't like all the stuff all the bullcrap I have to put up with to get to that gameplay in those systems. Like, I didn't want to have to play a 12-hour campaign to get to the build and like the good looter shooter stuff. All right. This is gonna be a good one. Suicide Squad or Marvel's Avengers?
Suicide Squad.
Marvel's Avengers. I like that set of heroes. Kind of what you were talking about. I think that those heroes, I would much rather be Captain America, Iron Man, Black Panther, Thor, Spider-Man than be these loser hero anti-heroes, I guess is the way to put it. Vigilantes.
They're villains. They
really are. Yeah.
An anti-hero is just somebody who's like when it's all said and done, they don't make a selfish choice, they make a heroic choice. That's where it's like narratively, the anti-hero, like in the real world, the reason why we like them is because of how dramatic it is, that after all this time they finally decided that they're going to make the heroic choice. The reality is, in our day-to-day, like, it's better if you practice making that heroic choice, so that when the bigger choice comes along, you're going to do it. And so,
Yeah.
like, I get the appeal from a entertainment property, but the anti-hero is something that I just don't vibe with in my own personal, like, life and what I want to play as, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'd rather play as Batman and Superman and Green Lantern and the Flash. Like, find a way to make that work, please, because that sounds way more appealing.
Suicide Squad or the First Descendant?
So far, well, it's the First Descendant still isn't out yet,
but we played a
and
lot of it.
we played a lot of
We
it.
played
And
as
I
much First
enjoyed
Descendant
it.
as we played this. Yeah.
I enjoyed my time with it. There's still so
Yeah.
many questions about that game, especially because that's a free to play game. Where here, I feel like I can put, some more time into it. I can finish the story, and I'm okay to step away from it. First
Okay.
Descendant, I think, is something that wants to set itself up so that you're, constantly checking in and playing it. And
I
who
think this
knows?
game
Like, as
wants
soon
to
as
do
that comes
that
to the
too,
show,
though. But the
it does.
fact that it's not making you want to like feel like you want to do that is a failing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're going First Descendant, I think.
Yeah,
Because
I think I would.
it has that engagement. Yeah, I would give the edge to Suicide Squad, but that is only because of these characters. Like, that's
Mhm.
it. And maybe like the talent trees and the combat, the how frenetic and fun the combat feels. I
Yeah.
think and I'm not even gonna ask Suicide Squad or Borderlands, because I think both of us are gonna be like, hit the Borderlands button like immediately. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's the game that this game is aping the most in terms of its systems and its combat, and it just doesn't quite measure up to that. Even some of the humor too, like with the Vault Hunters, they're kind of they are kind of anti-heroes a lot of the time. Like, they really just kind of want to get loot, but also they're
Right.
like good people at heart. Um, I think the Borderlands 3, when I was playing this, I just kept thinking like, man, I got to go back and play Borderlands 3. Like, and so like, I think that the fact that this game is similar to that and is like an
Mhm.
alternative to that in terms of the personality, in terms of how good the combat feels, and how you have like those talent trees and those perks that you can set up to make like a grenade based build or a SMG build or like whatever, and have like all these synergies and stuff working together to get like crazy damage and stuff like that. I mean, you can do that in the First Ascendant as well, but I guess it's just kind of like the vibrancy of it, like the feeling of fun, getting to the end of a mission and seeing like
Mhm.
your character or somebody else's character like having that like victory pose type of thing, and then like getting to see like the leaderboard. Unfortunately, I don't have any footage of that because it's single player footage, but like, that's cool, man. And so I think like that party type of atmosphere, that fun. I mean, they're at least trying to inject the fun. I don't know if it hits its mark, but there's an attempt there that I think is admirable. And so like, I think that I like that more than just like very grindy, like MMO-esque like type shooter stuff. Like,
Mhm.
another comparison would be like Warframe. Like, would you rather play this or would you rather play a lot of Warframe?
I think I probably would play this, but there's still like a cap on that kind of time. Not that Warframe is any slouch. I've enjoyed my time with Warframe, but when it's all said and done, like, there is a level of polish here that I do like
Yeah.
respect and appreciate. And I would probably find more enjoyment by playing this over Warframe.
So it sounds like as far as where this game's is, what its place is in the genre. It sounds like I'm a little bit higher on it than you are
Mhm.
actually.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because I think we started off the show by you being like, a 6 seems like, maybe it's low, like because these other games are
I'm just saying,
sevens,
like,
and is it really?
if we look at, like, the law of averages, like,
Yeah,
what game as a service game is reviewed higher than a 7?
not
And
many.
right. And so it's like, all
Yeah,
of a sudden it's like, if a 7 is the best a games as a service game will be scored as, like, then a 7 is high praise, right? So that's where I, when it comes to reviewing numbers and scores, like, I shift to a, like, should you buy, should you wait, or should you just completely skip methodology? And it's like, if this game comes to Game Pass, like if you're on a budget or if this is on PlayStation, whatever, yeah, I think it's worth seeing
I have an
if you're going
interesting
to vibe with
take
it.
on that.
Go
I
ahead.
have an interesting take on that, which is that I don't think that this game is coming to Game Pass. It may come to PlayStation Plus Extra,
Mhm.
maybe. But my interesting take, and this isn't like a prediction that I feel super confident about, it's kind of just like a lob one out there, and if I'm right, fantastic.
Mhm.
I think that for the first year of this game, because they're doing all of the DLC content completely free to people that own it, it will not go to any subscription platform. I think they are going to make sure that they make their money on that retail entry price. They
Assuming
want
that
you to
it sells
plop
well. If it
down.
doesn't sell well, like all of a sudden those deals become a lot more like, let's
But
try to recoup as much of this as we possibly
I,
can and
I think
hopefully
if that
sell
happens,
skins, you know.
they will sell the game for cheaper. Like we may
Oh
see
yeah,
this game
discount.
go down for to
Weight means discount
$30.
as well, right? So it's like at
Right.
$30, like, you know, if you like this kind of style of game and you're looking for something to do, like that's the same case I've made for Forspoken. Like, I know you're not a fan of Forspoken, but like at 20 or $30 Forspoken I thought it was like, yeah, this is the right price point for this experience.
Yeah, I would say for this game, if people are really interested in it, I would say the max that you probably want to pay for this is $40. I think that's right around, like, if you're
good.
interested
Yeah,
and you're
I agree with
comfortable
that.
paying $40, go for it. If you want to wait for 30, 25, wait for that.
It's
Gauge
going
your
to get that
interest.
price. It will
Yeah,
hit 40. It will hit 30. Like, those price points
at
will
least
happen in this
by
game.
fall, probably. I mean,
Oh,
at least
by
by
fall,
fall.
I would expect sometime maybe the Steam summer sale. Like, when you start to think about when
Yeah.
these early sales happen, it's like you could start to see like
See, I'm
bigger
thinking about
discounts happening.
console. I'm
Okay,
thinking
that's
about
true.
console, not
Yeah.
Steam. Yeah, so
Well,
it's
I
gonna be
mean,
a little bit
it's
higher.
sometimes they generally are kind of bottled together, generally speaking. Like, oh, we're gonna have a sell before the Summer Games Fest, you know, for example, and pick up the games that people played and overpaid for. Which I would say, yeah, I definitely overpaid for this game. Are you gonna keep playing this as kind of a final, thought?
I may play it over the weekend, but we have reviews of Grand Blue and Persona 3 coming up on Monday. So, like,
Monday,
probably
yeah.
not. And then right after that, I have a code for a game that looks really, really cool, from Focus Home Entertainment, that Don't Nod Studios made. If you recall, we talked about a game a while ago on the podcast that was like this vampire protagonist where you had this dilemma, moral
Mhm.
dilemma of, like, do you sacrifice the NPCs or not to, like, make your character level? This is their next game, and it looks really, really cool. And I have a code for that already. That's all I can say about it right now. But, like, that game comes out in a couple weeks, and, like, I want to play that and get ready for the review. So, like you were
Yeah.
saying, like you with Grand Blue, it's like, I don't know. I think most likely I'll probably play a few more hours of it because I really am like, I want to get this in game. Like, I want to understand it.
Okay.
Like, I'm probably gonna play it today.
Mhm.
Like a lot today. Like, I might put in like 4 to 6 hours today to try to, like, really put the cap on it, tie a bow on it, be like, okay, I understand what this game is, or I don't, and that's just the way that it's gonna be. And
Mhm.
then we get Persona tomorrow. Like, you're already able to dive into Grand Blue. I'm jealous. We get
Yeah.
Persona tomorrow, so I'm probably gonna play Persona 3 for the rest of the weekend. But then when that Battle Pass and the Joker content comes in March, I'm diving into this game immediately, I
Okay.
think, to play it, see what's up with that, because that's where it's gonna be. Is like, is the content roadmap for this game gonna hit? And if the Joker one doesn't hit, I don't have a lot of
Yeah.
confidence in the
It'd
rest
be
of the year.
it'd be kind of fun because one of the things I feel is the flaw of the old reviewing model is games as a service. Because let's say Joker comes out and it's like, oh man, and now you can play through the story as Joker, and it's a whole
That'd be
like you have a
cool.
whole different experience. And
That's where
like,
the
well,
polish would help, but I bet
right,
they
that's where the
won't do
polish
that.
would help
I
because
bet they don't do that.
right, but that's where it's like one of the things I wish we'd see is more reviews that kind of follow it up, especially with this model. Because how do you like, yeah, let's say the end game people just like, man, I just can't put the end game down. Like, I just keep logging in week over week, and you see it, continue to maintain a player base that's excited, and they keep adding in content, which would be great. I think that would be something where, like, right now, I don't have plans to play this again. I might try and finish
You and
the
me have
story,
got to
but I
get
just
on it. at some point, maybe in March
Yeah.
when Joker comes out.
That might be fun. That might be a good
Yeah,
time to
you can be
revisit.
Deadshot and I can be Joker or what
Yeah,
have you. That
that'd
would
be
be cool.
cool.
We can do a stream for the Work to Game folks. But yeah, no, I don't regret getting in. I don't regret spending my $100.
Okay.
I don't feel good about it. Like I don't think that was a good decision. But I really like those Justice League skins that you could only get with that edition, and I
Yeah.
like that I was here to experience this. And I think like this is a game that I want to own.
Okay.
Like I know that this is a game that I want to own, that I want to be in my library, that I want to be able to pop in whether there's a new character for free 4 times this year, and maybe going further than that. Who knows? I mean, maybe this game will find its audience. But like when Joker arrives, it's rumored that the next character after that is gonna be like I forget what her name is, Nora or something like that. Mr. Freeze's wife,
Okay.
basically like as Mr. Freeze, like she's gonna be Mrs. Freeze, like with the
Nice.
suit and everything. That
Cool.
would be dope if I can
Yeah.
like do like Mr. Freeze type stuff with her. That's a complete rumor. You know, I don't know if that's gonna be the case, but like there's a lot of cool characters that they could use. I think that's another thing too, is like it kind of reflects on like the roster not being like super like banger when like we're already like, oh, maybe like the new characters will be really cool. You know, like
Yeah.
Harley's really cool, and like the other 3 characters, like there's cool aspects of their kit, but like Joker is way more intriguing to me in terms of like what his gameplay and traversal is gonna be like. So, you know, I just don't know that they started with the best 4 people for this game. But hey, if we're going to have 8 by the end of the year, and we may even get more after that, and it's like, I'm going to be glad that I own this game at that point, because that there will be a variance of experience there. Like there will be a character for me. It's almost like a fighting game. Like there will be a character there for me that resonates with me, that I can get into and do all this
everybody has a
in-game
favorite
stuff
Pokemon.
with.
So everybody has a favorite villain that they'd be like, oh, I checked out that game and to play as that character. So I can totally see the appeal there. And if they keep doing that, and that's the big question, you know, if they keep doing that, more power to them, right? Like if this was a game that then was also like propelled like a constant set of revenue, that then they're like, yeah, we're also going to work on these narrative single player games. Boom, you know, that works out in Bravo. And the unfortunate thing about that is the only way to figure that out is with time. Like we got to just let them cook and see what they come up with.
But I do love that Joker's coming immediately. Like that's a really good move. Like Avengers died a horrible death based on that. Like they literally, the first 2 characters they came out with were the 2 Hawkeyes. They played the exact same, and it took like 6 months for even those 2 characters to come out. We got Black Panther and a Winter Soldier later, and those characters were awesome, but nobody cared about the game by then. So like them delivering on Joker within a month is really good. It gives them a shot. Like it gives them a chance.
Well,
and
it gives
I think
people that reason to check back in, because there's going to be a lot of things that are coming out. There already are a lot of things that I'm trying to, you know, kind of get through my backlog on. And if it's like, hey, by the way, March, check it out. And then it's like, hey, by the way, June, check it out. Like if it keeps becoming a conversation piece, that's how the games as a service model works. You got to keep making content. And if they slip on these dates, that ultimately, I think you can see the people who are championing it.
That would be awful if Joker doesn't come out in March. That'd be terrible. Yeah.
But if they're confident they're saying March, then, you know, even if it's March 31st, like that sounds great, honestly, because we're, you know, like there's some games that we want to check out throughout the year. And if this ends up being one that we keep checking back out, you know, obviously we'll cover it on future podcasts, because we'll talk about to you guys what we're playing and more. But yeah, dude.
Yeah,
it's an interesting game.
I think in that regard, like that's the reason that I don't regret buying this game. Like, did I lose money on it? Yes, but we did that to cover it. Like we did that to do this podcast, for me to be able to do the video review, to get in there day one, to experience it, to be a part of this whole kerfuffle that's going on of people's reaction to this game and everything. And like that's fun. Was it worth the extra like $30 that I probably paid for this game when I could have gotten it for that much less in March when Joker comes out? Probably not, but like give or take, like I'm gonna be okay in that regard. Maybe you and me will be able to jump in before that content in March. And so the fact that like they have these planned content roadmap updates that are going to be completely free. First of all, the completely free thing made me want to vote with my wallet and say, yes, more of this. Don't charge me $20 per expansion per content update like, Destiny does with their expansions. I love this. A year of free content for one price. I will give you my money. I will say, industry, do this.
Oh, so like I get Joker, so I don't have to buy Joker in March.
No.
Okay,
no.
good.
All for and all of the content. All of the L's worlds, which are like I don't know if you got to the point in the campaign where you get transported to like this like desert wasteland version of Metropolis, but there will be like other multiverse dimensions of Metropolis that are themed after like some sort of character. And the first one is like a Joker funhouse type of world. And then we get Joker for free as a character. You get all of that with the retail buy-in, which is why I'm saying I do not think that this game comes to a subscription service in year one. Because I think they put this game out. They're like, we need to get that retail money. Like just put it out. Like just finish it, put it out, get the money that we need, that we can get, because that's all we can do at this point, even if people don't want it. And so I think that's going to be a big deal for them. They need to sell, they need to move units of this game. And the value proposition of that is we will give you all the content for free after that. And we've got a year's worth of it planned. And I think for that reason, you will see it go on sale, but I don't think it'll go on a subscription service. So if you're waiting for that, maybe don't. Maybe grab it when you see it for $30. It will after at least 8 to 12 months. It'll go on a subscription service. But if you don't want to wait that long, maybe grab it, because you're going to miss the year of free content when it's live and relevant. And so that's the value proposition. If you want to be there for that content, if you want to vote with your wallet and say the gameplay is fun, that it feels fun to beat up on and shoot these enemies, even if there's not a lot of variety in the enemies and in the missions. When I'm playing the game, we both agree, it feels fantastic for a little while. You play for an hour. At that point, you're like, okay, I get it. Maybe I'll go do something else. Like I'll go, in your case, I gotta go take care of my kids. Like it's a good sit down and play and bang out a few missions type of game. Is that all that's really offering? Yes, but you may not need more than that. So if you're intrigued by the premise, if you're intrigued by the gameplay, if you do want to play Borderlands 3 in third person with some semi-iconic DC characters, maybe not that iconic until March when we get Joker, there is something here for you. And the Rocksteady is doing right by the consumers in saying you put down your money one time, and then other than the Battle Pass, which has cosmetic stuff, we're never going to charge you again for like all this content that we have planned. And we do have content planned, and it is going to come out hopefully on time. I think all that is like enough to say that like this game is a good value proposition if you're interested. If you're going into it like not really inherently interested in the premise, in the type of game, in the gameplay, I don't know that the content that's coming is really going to change your mind unless you just want to play with Joker. So like that's the decision that everybody has to make for themselves. But like I do think that there's a good $30 to $40 game here, especially with all the stuff that you're going to get on top of that as the year goes on.
All right. I think that wraps us up for our review. Eth says this is a very much a 6 out of 10 game, which
that's
is
what
right
I gave
in
it.
line with your score. This is a very much kind of wait and see game for me, since I generally like the numbers. I'm like, all right, because we talked about that in the show. But thank you, Eth. Thank you, everybody hanging out on the live show. And also thank you if you're listening to this as the audio version of the podcast. I really appreciate you being out there, and hopefully you enjoyed. We'll be back. This was a special episode. We'll be back on Monday with Grand Blue Fantasy review and Persona 3 review together. And then we'll be back kind of more into our normal schedule outside of different events that kind of pop in and pop out. So you've been seeing us a lot lately. Hopefully you've been enjoying. Go ahead, Kurt.
Go check out our live reactions to both the state of play that was yesterday, which was amazing, with Death Stranding 2 and Stellar Blade and we popped off for Sonic. We popped off for Sonic honestly, and Shadow, baby.
Well, the fact is, like with the kids, like I think that's going to be something I gotta get in this fall for sure.
So go check that out on Work the Game. We have our live react of that, which I think Brian's going to be putting up a better version of that. And then also, Brian, I got to get you to put up on Work the Game the Xbox Direct React as well. Go check both of those out. Pretty interesting. And we gave some commentary with those, so it might be worth a watch for you there. And then, as always, my channel, What's New Video Games. That's where I did the video review. It's about 7 minutes long, so would appreciate you checking that out. A little more condensed than this hour and 15 conversation that we had here, but I think it's good to have both, right? Like you want to give people the snapshot, but also like a discussion like this gives people an idea of like, do they fall more in line with your viewpoint, my viewpoint? The games that we're referencing, do they like those games? Do they not really care for those games? And all that discussion that we had can hopefully inform people on whether this game is like a good thing for them to jump into, or, maybe they should just wait or skip it entirely. So that's kind of why we did this. That's why we wasted, you might argue, our hard-earned money to get in there on day one. But it was fun, I think, just to be a part of that. Like, I really do love that, like, we're kind of taking work to game that direction. So I hope everybody in the audience is like there for the ride, that watch this live or watches the VOD, like is game and excited for like that type of content, because we really do want to be on the cutting edge of what's new, what's out there, and like what our impressions of it are, so that like you can make some informed purchases and know what's going on in the world of gaming.
Awesome. Well, guys, that's going to wrap us up for this episode of Epic Loot Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. We wish you guys all the absolute very best, and we hope to see you in the next episode. But until then, take care.
Epic Loot Radio. Epic Loot Radio.